Good day, kids. This is Teacher Cha. Welcome to our lesson for today. And we are going to talk about the equivalent ratios. But before we begin, let's have our objectives for today. At the end of our lesson, you will be able to identify and determine equivalent ratios by multiplying or dividing both terms of a ratio by the same number. And then second is we are going to generate at least three equivalent ratios for a given ratio. So yeah, let's have a short review first. Let's simplify the following ratios. How are you going to simplify 8 to 12? Okay, good. If your answer is 2 to 3, good job. So what you did here is you divide both terms by 4, right? So let's have another one. If your answer is 3 to 4, your answer is correct. So what we did here is we divide both terms by 5. Last one. 18 to 24. Okay, if your answer is 3 to 4, then your answer is correct. All right, so now let's take a look at a situation we might encounter in real life. Suppose we are going or we are making a juice for the whole class. So the ratio of concentrate to water is 1 to 2. But what if we want to use 10 cups of concentrate? How much water do we need? Again, if we want to make a juice for the whole class and use 10 cups of concentrate, how much water do we need? So let's solve it together. So our original ratio is 1 to 2, right? We know that 1 needs to become 10. So we multiply 1 by 10. Remember, when we're working with ratios, we must do the same operation to both terms. So if we multiplied 1 by 10, we are going to multiply 2 to 10 as well. So we have 20. Therefore, our new ratio is 10 to 20. That means if we use 10 cups of concentrate, we need 20 cups of water. All right? So now think about this question. How can different pairs of numbers represent the exact same relationship? So this will bring us to our lesson for today, which is equivalent ratios. So equivalent ratios are ratios that express the same relationship between numbers. So they may have different numbers, but the relationship between the numbers remain the same. So one way to find an equivalent ratio is through scaling up. Scaling up means multiplying both terms by the same non-zero number. So let us use 5 to 3 as an example. Suppose we multiply both terms by 5. So 5 multiplied by 5, the answer is 25. Notice that when we alright, so how about 3 times 5, I'm sorry. So we have 15. So notice that we both multiplied both terms by the same number 5. That is important when finding the equivalent ratio. So 5 to 3 is equivalent to 25 to 15. So that means they are equivalent ratios. Alright? So that is scaling up. Now, let's have scaling down. So scaling down simply means that we are going to divide both terms by the same non-zero number. Okay? Now, scaling down is dividing. So, let's take a look at 12 to 15. I'm sorry. So, yeah, that should be 12 to 15. So, 12 divided by 3, we are going to divide them by 3. 12 divided by 3 is 4, and 15 divided by 3 is 5. Therefore, 12 to 15 is equivalent to 4 to 5. They are equivalent ratios. So remember, it is important to know that adding and subtracting the same number does not make an equivalent ratio. Remember that. So, for example, if we have 2 to 4 and 1, and we are going to add 1 to both terms, we get 3 to 5. But 2 to 4 and 3 to 5 do not represent the same relationship. So, when finding equivalent ratios, do not add or subtract the same number. Instead, multiply or divide both terms by the same non-zero number. Okay? So, let's try. It's your turn. So, let us try to find the three equivalent ratios for 8 to 12. First, let's multiply both terms by 3. So, 8 times 3 is 24, and 12 times 3 is 36. Therefore, 8 to 12 is equivalent to 24 to 36. Alright? Next, let's scale down. Let's divide 8 by 2. The answer is 4. And 12 divided by 2 is 6. So 8 to 12 is equivalent to 4 to 6. Now let's try by scaling up, by multiplying by 5. So 8 times 5 is 40, and 12 times 5 is 60. So therefore, 8 to 12 is equivalent to 40 to 60. So here are our three equivalent ratios for 8 to 12. Alright? Now let's try 6 to 9. So let's scale up by multiplying both terms by 2. So 6 times 9, 6 times 2 is 12. And 9 times 2 is 18. So we have 12 to 18. Now let's scale down. 6 divided by 3 is 2. And 9 divided by 3 is 3. So we have 2 to 3. Let's scale up again. 6 times 4 is 24. And 9 times 4 is 36. So we get 24 to 36. So now we have 12 to 18, 2 to 3, and 24 to 36 as equivalent ratios for 6 to 9. Alright? So before we end our lesson, let's remember the most important ideas. Remember, equivalent ratios are ratios that have the same value. We can find equivalent ratios by multiplying or dividing both terms by a ratio by the same non-zero number. So again, also, remember, same operation, same number, and both terms. If you multiply one term, you must simply multiply the other term by the same number. And if you divide one term, you must divide the other term by the same number as well. Alright? Good job, learners. Let's see if we were able to attain our objectives for today. So yes, we did identify and determine equivalent ratios by multiplying or dividing both terms. And also, we generate at least 3 equivalent ratios for a given ratios. Great job, kids. Now that you know how to find equivalent ratios, let's try applying what you have learned today to our activities that I will be sending in our group chat. Okay, goodbye. Stay safe.